Today I'm going to show you how to make the 3D mask. This pattern is on my website. It's kind of an origami style of mask that pops out, and the fit is really nice because this part is pretty snug over your nose and chin, but you still have space to breathe, and it doesn't sit quite directly on your face, which makes it a little bit more breathable and more comfortable to wear. So the 3D mask instructions are in the blog post, and you can download the pattern. There are two patterns. You can either download the original, this has 5 sizes, or the extended mask if you have are sewing for somebody with a larger head or larger face. So the original one fits on 1 page pretty much. You can either print out 2 pages and tape them together, or just fold it in half and follow the lines if you're making the biggest size on here. The biggest size is the only one that doesn't quite fit. So I've cut out 2 layers, and one will be the outside layer, one will be the inside layer. If you are wanting to add a filter, there's another set of directions for that, and you can find that in the blog post. The only other note I have is that you can put a nose wire in this mask, and I'll show you what step to do that in. The instructions for that are in the blog post, but you also don't need to because this does fit nicely over your nose, and so a lot of people have found they don't need the nose wire. Okay, so we're gonna start 2 layers, and we'll pin them together, right sides together, and then we're gonna sew along the top, the bottom, and leave these 2 sides open. So we'll just want to back stitch when we get to these points. Okay, so I've sewn those edges, and now I'm going to clip the corners on the points so that when I turn it, the points aren't bulky. Just the 2 top and the 2 bottom corners. And then I'll turn it right side out through one of these openings. And then I'm going to press it so that it's nice and flat. You want to make sure that you get the points out really well, and pressing it will help. Okay, so I've pressed it, and then I've top stitched along the top and bottom edges, leaving the sides open again. Now, if you want to do a nose wire, you can slip it inside the mask and sew it right up here. So you'll slip it in and then create a casing for it at the top, and those instructions are in the blog post. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is you can bring your pattern out again. We're gonna fold in the edges, and the lines are on here. So the easiest way for you to do this is put your outer fabric face down. So I chose these daisies as my outside fabric. And then so obviously this is not gonna fit anymore since we've already taken in some seam allowance. So just center it so it's about even. You can center the edges on these sides, and that will help. And then fold in your edges matching the line for your size. And then we'll press that and do it again on this side. Press that and press right down there. And this is the easiest way for me. It's okay if your paper takes heat, your pattern, it's okay for the iron to be on it, just don't leave it too long so it doesn't burn. That's the easiest way for me to get the lines right where they are. It's supposed to be. So after I pressed the flaps down, I top stitched along these edges, and that'll give us that's the first step of the pop out shape. So those stitching lines will help keep the shape of the mask, and that top stitching will be visible. So if you are wanting to change your thread to do that, you want to match it to your outer fabric. Okay, so now we're going to clip the threads, and then you're going to need your iron again to press. We're going to press in 3/8 inch on the sides 2 times. So 1 and 2, and this is going to create a casing for your elastic. And you'll see that it's coming over the flaps, and we need that to help create the shape, so don't worry if it does that. So I am going to pin these, press these, and then we'll pin them with the elastic inside. All right, after you've pressed the edges, you can bring your elastic in and fold it under that edge. you just want to get it right in that crease and then pin the fabric in place. So we're going to create the casing, and it's just easier to put the elastic there before you sew, so that way you don't have to thread it through a really narrow casing. So we're going to do that on both sides, and then we're going to stitch along this folded edge to enclose the elastic. You don't want to stitch over the elastic so that we can still turn it. So be careful as you're sewing, just be sure to pull that elastic into this fold right here. Okay, so I've sewn those casings, and then I'll clip the threads a little bit to clean it up. And then I'm going to tie the elastic into knots. And if you look on the blog post, I have elastic measurements for ear loops for the different sizes, and you can adjust those if you need to. So what I like to do is kind of cut a little extra elastic and then try them on and then tie the knots. So I'm going to tie the knots at the end just with the elastic together. Just tie a really good knot and make it really tight, and then I will clip the edges off and slip it into the casing so you can't see it. It's just a little more comfortable, I think, to wear elastic without a knot in it. All right, and we're almost done. So the very last step is to create the 3D shape. And I know some of you have struggled with this, so I wanted to do a video to show you my trick for doing it really quickly and really easily. So you're gonna need a couple pins. So this is what we're going for. And on the inside, this is what it looks like. The easiest way is to open up your mask and then fold it in half. This is how I ironed the 3D masks flat, so they flatten out pretty well. Okay, and then right where your flaps kind of are sitting is where you're gonna pin them. So if you just will pull the flaps out, flatten it, and then open it up, you'll see that it's created the folds for you. And that's how you'll get the perfect shape. So instead of trying to look at it like this and create the same shape, it's much easier if you fold it in half, flatten it, and then pick up the fabric and pin it as you see it. So this point shouldn't go beyond this top stitching. And then on the other side, it doesn't have to be perfect, but if you do it this way, you will get that flat shape you want. And they're much easier to iron if you know they're gonna set flat. And then the very last step is just to stitch those down. And I like to do just from the inside, I'll do stitching from here to here and back, so you get a really good back stitched line. You can go all the way if you want and go all the way back. It's okay if there's that extra stitching. And then it'll look like this, and you'll be able to flatten it really easily, and you can make a whole bunch of these really quickly. So I hope that video helped you, and I hope you love the 3D mask. If you have any questions, you can join my Facebook group. You can also look at the comments in this post. There are a lot of questions, and I've answered some of them there. So have a great day.